Hello, welcome. These are my thoughts. I figured I'd do something like this because it's about that time. Um, really trying to do some training, podcast training. I feel like with any kind of responsible activity, you should work out, if you're trying to accomplish any kind of task or at least kind of get a skill in anything, you need to find a way to kind of build your upper body strength. So this is something not very many people are going to hear, at least right now, but with any kind of hope. But I'm planning. I wanted to put my thoughts out there for a long time. I remember being a kid and kind of like talking to myself. I would find these times to just hang out in the bathroom and express my feelings of anything verbally to the reflection of myself. But I would always feel like something was listening. And I'm not sitting here being like, welcome to the Crazy Cast, where you are listening to a psychopath. But at least, it was just always a thing to, I have to express my fucking brain, dude. I have to let my brain out. I can't be that type of person that just sits there all the time and just like is quiet about every little thought that I have in my brain. Every little thought that I have in my mind is important to me for some fucking reason, even when it's nothing. And I can't imagine what it would be like to not, not to like. Okay, so when people like to explain what it's like to relieve stress, it's like taking a backpack off, You've been wearing a heavy backpack all day, and finally you get that stress relief at the end of the day. And it's like taking that heavy ass backpack off. And to me, taking my backpack off is about like just like saying like, oh my God, I felt this way about this, and I feel this way about that. And when I was a kid, sometimes, it wasn't exactly I didn't really know how conversations worked, which is funny because I grew up with three brothers, and I'm the oldest one of the brothers, and I was born in 1992 when the youngest one was born in 1997. So with four boys between boys, with four people between those two times all living in the same house and growing up with each other, you'd imagine that my social act, or let's just say my social engagement would have been at least at more of a keen sense. But, you know, I kind of just grew this ability to more be of a dominant dog. We were more like a wolf pack, it was less like, like it was four boys between those times. And it was less, hey, how are you feeling, how are your emotions, and more motherfucker, and then throwing people over the couch. And I was the oldest, so it was, I was the dominant alpha male, making sure everything was in line. But I was also, I wasn't a fucking torturous individual. I was one of those people like when chores had to be done, yeah, I was gonna take in charge, because also I was in charge. Like my dad also knew I was the oldest. Well, so when responsibility came and someone didn't do a good job, I was already a manager when I was 9. That's why I don't want to be one now. I would never. I hate managing people, dude. It sucks because I did it growing up. I hated it. But I wasn't a torturous person. I was just like, get the shit in line, man. And if you didn't do it right, I have to fix it. Because, like, if dad comes home, I'm fucked. Like, you're not fucked, I'm fucked. Like, and so people didn't understand that those motherfuckers didn't understand that shit. I don't even remember why I got into this whole situation, but, you know, um, but that's the reason. That's the reason I would have to. Okay, yeah, stress. I would have a lot of stress as a kid. So at the end of the day, I would have to go and I would have to relieve it. And I would relieve it by just expressing it through the reflection in the mirror in the bathroom. Well, sometimes I would put like a towel underneath once I became old enough to like realize that I was embarrassed. So I put a towel underneath to try not to be heard. It was probably because, people would pick on me. It was like, oh, are you talking to yourself in there? It's like, yeah, I was talking the fuck out of myself. What? Who, like, that's like the only person that understands me is me. So I'm gonna talk to myself. I can talk to anybody else. But so here I am. Now I'm talking to a microphone. Mm, thinking I'm just gonna express some of my thoughts. Um, maybe we should get into like just I guess a little bit about me. You can always talk about yourself. Like I just got into a little bit about it, and I always went off. This is hopefully going to be repeated in the future, but again, this is probably something that not a lot of people are going to listen to, so it's all good. But I guess I won't go directly into the like I was born on a cold winter day in February 3rd of 1992. Like, I was born February 3rd, 1992, but I mean, it was probably winter, but it wasn't that cold. I was born in Long Beach, California. Oh, this is where, you would put the sound loop of, oh, there it is. Sound loop of something, oh shit, oh shit. No, there ain't nothing much gangster about it. I'm a blue-eyed white boy, so both my parents both had, white skin and blue eyes. So born in Long Beach, California during 1992 probably wasn't the funnest place to be honest with you. According to my parents, I was an infant, so I couldn't exactly tell you. It's not like I have any experience. That's why I'm explaining this story. Some shit that went down during 1992. Actually, shit went down, I think, in 91. Unfortunately, my history and memory isn't fully exact because, things suck about that. But shit went down in 91, 92 with a unfortunate individual named Rodney King, and some assholes did some fucked up shit to him. And all those assholes are white people. All of those assholes are cops. And none of those assholes went to jail or had any real punishment because of it. And so that started the LA riots. Famous little LA riots in 1992. And my poor ass white family living in Long Beach, California, where my dad grew up in a couple different towns when he was young, but my mom grew up in Long Beach, so that was her hometown. So, she had already been picked on most of the time. I'm not gonna get into any of that right now. Plenty of room for that in the future, but she just knew it wasn't safe, and she had some family in like a little bit, up north, not too up north. If anyone knows about the town Barstow, California, oh Barstow, people there will tell you that the nickname of Barstow, California, is the barstool of the state. Cigarette ash and some shit stains on it. It's all good. Maybe some vomit on the heel. Barstow, California, though, that's where we moved to when I was 8 months old, around there. And so that's why I don't have any recollection of living in Long Beach. I was 8 months old. My eyesight was barely 70% done finishing even being a fucking human's eyesight. My hearing wasn't even recollecting or knowing any real sounds. Really understood who mom and dad was and that I wanted them. you know, uh, I had a sister. She was 9 at the time, so she could tell you what it's like, but I could not. I can tell you what it was like to live up in Barstow, California, and that's where we went. Barstow, California is one of those small ass fucking trailer park towns. Though my family were able to rent a house in one of the neighborhoods, but most of the town was like trailer park esque. If you know what I'm saying. Um, The whole town, let's just say it was, well, see, there was one main road, which some of you people might know what that's like. Um, because that shit sucks. But there's one main road. A couple cul-de-sacs, a couple neighborhoods, one main road, two elementary schools, one middle school, and no high schools. I think the high school was actually a little bit off in like the next town over, which I don't remember because I never went to high school there. We'll go into that a little bit later. But it was a super, super small town in Southern California, in the San Bernardino County area. Which, if anyone knows about San Bernardino County, man, San Bernardino is the only fucking city you know in San Bernardino County, isn't it? Exactly. Yeah, it's because every other town in San Bernardino County is shit. Um, some of you might know Victorville, which is my next town that I'll talk about, but I'll get into later. Because Victorville has actually been mentioned a few times in different types of media, which is something I'll get into. But yeah, fuck. You want to know about that? We'll get into that later. But anyway, yeah. So growing up in a Barstow was weird. Um, it wasn't like completely. It was extremely segregated. No, that's not the right word. It was extremely what's it? It was dude. There was people of all types. I had white friends, I had Mexican friends, I had Asian friends, I had black friends. There was all kinds of people there, and that's the thing. It was the shit people of all the races. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh no, it wasn't. No, Barstow had no good house in it. It was all shit, complete shit. So growing up there, I had friends that had a lot of like I didn't grow up with any kind of like these friends are rich and shit like that. No, all my friends were going through the same shit we were going through. Every house I went through, they had broken cars in the yard too. They had fucking all kinds of animals. They had nothing going on. Like their parents were struggling. Their parents were just trying to survive in this world that is crazy. They were part of the majority. They were not part of the singularity. And they were also not, no, they were living in dens. I went to a lot of rented homes. I went to a lot of houses that were houses. But I also went to some apartment complexes. I had friends in apartment complexes and stuff like that. But, there's houses. My parents were renting a house. I couldn't tell you how much they were paying. My dad was working as a mechanic at a military base, but wasn't part of the military. He was an independent contractor for the military base. So I wasn't being paid like military pay, but it's being, he had some money. My mom was stay at home for most of the while, but I remember her working at shit like Carl's Jr., McDonald's, and shit like that. So, there had to be some struggle. There had to be struggle and shit like that. So, for sure. And then, by the time I was 6, 7, I already had 3 little brothers. So, and an older sister. So it was all, yeah, it was all up there. So, and we were actually supposedly, I guess, for the town of Barstow, California, doing good. Because, like I said, a lot of it was trailer. And those trailers sucked. I remember going to those trailers. Man, there were coyotes killing your animals if you lived there. There were fucking break-ins all the time. Uh, that shit sucked. Like I remember that, and I remember my parents talking about. It. I was like, "That's the bad part of town." It's like, man. But then when I went back, we'll fast forward real fast to when I was 16. When I went back to Barstow, California, after I hadn't been there for like 7 years, I was like, "Oh, this shit sucks. This place is terrible. this whole city is nothing." And all I was coming from was a town called Victorville. And if you know Victorville, that shit ain't it either. That shit is nothing. Well, let's talk about where I live now. Now I live in one of the biggest one of the biggest fucking cities in the entire country. Houston fucking Texas. Let me tell you, Houston fucking Texas is so fucking big that it's multiple cities, multiple counties in one city. It's fucking insane. And sure, I guess compared to where I've come from, grew up in Barstow and Victorville, California, in San Bernardino County. Houston is just, it's like fucking, it's like being Cloud in Final Fantasy VII and seeing that fucking city for the first time and being like, holy shit, that's a fucking, that's also like a part of a ship and shit. Like, shit's big. Sure, so I might be exaggerating on how small Barstow is, but man, even as a kid, I remember that shit being small as fuck. But growing up there wasn't that bad. I don't remember a lot of bad stuff. I remember having different neighbors. I remember having people that my mom was like, "Don't talk to them." And there was like only a couple houses with kids on the block that I was allowed to go to. Any other kids I saw, I wasn't allowed to talk to. So I don't know what my parents knew, but um, most of my friends are good. One of my best friends growing up, his name was Brooke. Um, and he had a dope ass family. His mom and dad. Uh, I'd always make sure his mom and dad were exactly like mom and dad. Matter of fact, I feel like that his dad even worked for the same company my dad worked for, and they lived down the street. But no, his mom and dad were like, I spent the night at his house all the time. I spent the night at his house most of the time. I feel like it was because like his mom and dad only had a girl, a teenage girl, and then him. And I think that's and then my parents had 5 kids. So maybe they were like, hey, it would be taking some slack off of them over there, off the Reeds, if we took one of their kids tonight. Tommy always wants to hang out and play games, and them they called him Boogie, and I called him Boogie because he's a little kid, so it's like little Boogie has a little friend to play with. So, me and Boogie would play fucking Nintendo and Sega all the time. But we love Power Rangers and all the same stuff, so we'd hang out all the time. And that was pretty much growing up in Barstow. I also had these 2 best friends from school. I would go to their houses, Michael and Charles. Hey, if you guys are listening, shout out. Love you guys. But Michael and Charles, they would always fight each other, and I was always be the guy in the middle. If anyone's ever been that guy in the middle, or that girl in the middle, or that just in between two people, you could even. Well, I won't even compare this to your parents because, like, your parents fighting. Oh, I couldn't imagine. Like, I know my parents are fighting, but to this day, 28. My parents been married 27 years, been together for 32, 31. So I was like, you know, I don't know what it's like for your parents to fight over you or anything like that. But dude, as a kid, I knew what it was like to have your friends fight over you, and the shit would happen all the time. They would always have problems with each other. They're just like alpha male tendencies. I had an alpha male tendency too, but I think I had so much alpha male tendencies at home because I had so many little brothers that they didn't have. That I was just like, even to this day, excuse me. Even to this day, I don't. Man, I hate being in charge of stuff because I was in charge of stuff growing up and it sucked. God. So I hate being in charge of stuff now. And I hated being in charge of stuff like at school. Like at school, I wouldn't be that kid that took charge. I would actually reinforce somebody to take charge. I would be like, hey, this kid's really good at this, and this is part of the skill that we have to work with. So like if I knew a kid that was really good at art, and then part of the skill is making something look really nice, then I'd be like, hey, the guy on my team is this kid that's really good at art. And I've always loved art. So anytime I noticed, and I only started getting into it a few years ago, which is something else we'll get into later. But I always noticed whenever someone was really good at stuff, and so I'd always get into someone else's art and shit like that, or then creativity. Even some people are really good at expressing themselves to other people. I would notice that too, And I would be like, okay, so if there's this is a big speaking thing project, like I got to be with this guy because like he's gonna blow them away. And so I was just really good at least like reinforcing or at least picking the person that was gonna be in charge or be better than me at something, so that I can just be there. Like I'm good at taking the lead, but like that means I'll be kick ass at being like an assistant leader. Yeah, I'm gonna still like not take full responsibility for this because I take too much responsibility for too many things already. So I was always like that, and that's why I'm like that today. I don't like being responsible for anyone but myself. I mean, it's a little harsh, call me an asshole for it, but this is like, that's why I'm not a cop. That's why I never wanted to be a cop. Well, there's a lot of reasons why I never wanted to be a cop, but that's why I'm not. I was offered a position to, you know, be in charge of a few people. I wasn't in charge enough to where it's like you're fired or you're hired or anything like that. But it was just like instructing people, teaching people, making sure people do their job right, and things like that. I was offered that position, and it came with a little bit of extra money and all that stuff like that. But I was just like, no, I'm good. I mean, I was even asked why, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's just I know everyone that I'll be having to do that with, and not everyone will want to listen to me or do it good. And I'll be here forever trying to teach them how to do it right, and they're never gonna learn. So I'd rather not. And a lot of it has to do with just how I was grew up, being the older sibling of fucking three younger brothers that were all just right behind me in the growing up process. So everything I went through, then they went through. So it was just like blah 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 blah. I mean, there was one that was really close to me, but yeah, I was still just like right on that trail. Like I did something, and then he knew it was gonna happen because I told him what the fuck was happening to me, and then it was like, okay, so it's about to happen to me, I guess, and then it just started happening to him. So almost in a repeat process. Um, yeah, blah. Sorry to going off track, but let's jump back to Barstow, California. So yeah, I went to school there, lived there. Um, we'll get into something where I talk about school stories. Right now, we're talking about just a little bit about myself. So after Barstow, around the age of 8 or 9, I moved to Victorville, which is about only 30 minutes away from Barstow. But when you go to Southern California, when it comes to towns out there, sometimes there's some good space of nothing, desert, desert, just Joshua trees and bush weeds, just nothing. If you go out there, maybe you'll find a fucking what's it called? The fucking lizards that squirt shit out their eye. What the fuck are they called? I forget what they're called. Not bearded dragons. Those are from Australia. It's something else. Horny toads. Blah. It's like it. You'll find horny toads and ants. Then that's what the horny toads eat, is the ants. Like, that's it. There weren't even like predatory birds. And there's nothing out there. And miles. California is just dirt and desert. Nothing. Which miles in Texas is just nothing. But at least there's life. Out there, it's just dirt, desert. It's just like the elevation is so high, and it's just like that patch around, kind of around Southern California, where it's just so dry, nothing survives. People, people don't even live out there until you get to a place where it's actually not that bad. And that's the thing about California; it changes so dramatically in between not too long of a space. And that's where I built a town. They built a town. But that gap in between, just like Southern California and Northern California, you might have a couple of towns, but right around, like, if you want to look it up on Google Maps, go Well, look up Barstow, California, and then look around Barstow, all the cities, and how far they are from each other, and all the nothingness in between. There's not even a lake or anything. Nothing. Nothing. Not even like a Google map of, not even like a street view of anything. No, it's just nothing. Calico Ghost Town. Go look up Calico. Check out what lives around there. Nothing. Nothing. Just nothing. That's the thing about California. You got all that nothing around there, and then you go south, and then you got just explosion of city life and stuff like that, because that's where things start to kind of grow a little bit more and get a little bit hot and a little bit more humid. Not too much more humid though, but a little bit better than 0% So, and that's where I lived, Victorville, California. Elevation was like 21,000, and it was a slow elevation. That's the thing about that part of California. It's not like mountains or anything like that. It's just like a slow elevation up there, a slow elevation down. You don't even notice it, man. But you're going up. Your ears will pop. I remember ears popping left and right traveling through California. Um, but I need to stop saying I promise not to do that. If I do that, I'll cut it out. The coastline was still about 3 hours away. At a good coast, it was about Oceanside. Oceanside and Carlsbad. And that's the thing about names, Carlsbad. Why so many towns use the name Carlsbad? But Carlsbad, California, about 3 hours away, maybe 2.5. And this is all coming from the recollection of a fucking child. Remember that. Recollection. Recollection. It's all coming from the brain of a child. Or the memory of a child to the adult. Well, no, the brain of a child. We'll put it that way. Victorville was bigger than Barstow, obviously. Actually, well, Victorville also sits next to a town called Hesperia and a town called Apple Valley. I have no idea why Apple Valley is called Apple Valley. They didn't grow a bunch of apples there. They may have one day. It's possible that one day in the past they did, but again, as far as I knew, it actually wasn't. It wasn't that crazy. There wasn't that much work there. There wasn't that much shit going on there. Apple Valley is mainly to hold some like military personnel, because I know that there was also like a military base lingering around where I was. It wasn't even the military base where my dad worked at, where he still worked at when we moved to Victorville. The military base. Oh my god, where was that? I don't remember. That's my thing. Fort Irwin. Pardon me. Fort Irwin. That was the military base that my dad was working as a private contractor at. Well, he was a private contractor. It was a company that was contracted to work there. Fort Irwin is where he worked, and I went there a few times, but I never lived there or anywhere near there. Going there was it was like an hour and a half away from wherever we lived. Like both times. Never got closer. But yeah, Victorville was bigger. A school was right down the street from my house. This time, so I was always supposed to walk to school and walk home from school, but it was never a big deal. It was literally less than 2 blocks away. It was like my block, which I was like a quarter up my block, another block, and I was at school. So yeah, and then Southern, like I said, even though we were that high in elevation, like the temperature never got under 62, and the fucking weather was always like never over 6% humidity, 6 or 7. As far as I remember. Again, could be a little bit exaggerating, but as far as I remember. So yeah, walking to school all year was never a big deal, really. Um, again, um, fuck Actually, if I'm gonna say I should just say fuck The the school was shitty though. I do remember hating my school. Hating a lot of things about my school. My elementary school was ran by a bunch of pushy ass bitches. And that's what my mom said. From my mom's mouth. Bunch of middle-aged white women is what my mom said. My mom is white. I will let that out there. Obviously, my mom is white. And she was like, "Man, your school is run by a bunch of middle-aged white women, but it's 2 blocks away. I'm not gonna like take you somewhere else." So went there. That was okay. A little weird, but okay. I mean, I had some good friends there too. It didn't take me long to make some friends. Went to a class where my teacher was Miss Morgan. She was really cool. She had a kid in class, and she kind of made him be my friend. So he kind of like invited me to a couple things, and he was used to, I guess, the new kids inviting him to stuff. So there's a bunch of kids that also like were like, hey, warming and welcoming. So I never had trouble fitting in. And that was the other thing about at least my elementary school. I don't know about elementary schools today. They're probably influenced by the internet and shit a lot, which I am from the early 90s where kids did not have full access to the internet. We got to get on it now and then, but we did not have that kind of full access to the internet, especially not my kids. It wasn't average. It wasn't like average for someone to have a computer with internet access. So, um, and even the internet access back then was extremely limited. Like it was not all that. Like some shows like to depict that it was a lot, but it was not shit. Like it was nothing compared to today. So, yeah, we never. That's the thing. We were never like there was never any kind of weird little kid gang shit, which I know happens in some elementary schools, especially around the area. Um, Everyone was always like just into everyone else. There was never anyone like, oh, they're like that color. I never remember racism in elementary school. I remember I was like introduced to racism in middle school. And when I got to middle school, so in Victorville, California, I went to Parkview Elementary School, and then I went to Hook Junior High School. And in Hook Junior High School is when I was introduced to racism. Now, a few people got on me for being white, but not a lot. The thing in my junior high school was that, and there's the thing about my location too, was the white percentage of the entire town was only about 20-25. Well, the Hispanic percentage was around, I think 50? No, around 40. And so was the black percentage. Yeah. So they were both around even. And so when I went to middle school, I learned that there were some black people, and not to be, I'm sorry if anyone's triggered by me saying black people, but I'm gonna also say, you know what, that is triggering. What do I say? You know what? I'll let you figure it out. We're gonna cut that part out. All right. Now, there were some people that were part of a segregated race in the past that were against other people that were part of a segregated race in the past. And one segregated race used to be forced to be slaves unjustifiably by white people. While another segregated race were from a southern state of Mexico. Also forced to be slaves by white people in some situations, and are also mistreated in many situations for just being from Mexico. But, I mean, there were a lot of kids then, generations that weren't even just straight from Mexico. They've been here forever. But anyway, if you had heritage that was from one side or the other, those are the people that hated each other. It wasn't about hating on the white people as much as it was about hating on each other. And that was the weird thing about my school. And that's where I was introduced to racism. Like, people didn't hate on me. Like, they mentioned things to me, and I knew history. I knew about slavery and all that. They teach that there. Matter of fact, we'll go into other shit later. You'll realize that I was taught that for sure. It was and stuff like that. And I felt some guilt for that for sure. Just as a little kid, I was like, holy shit. Like, I am so sorry. Like, I gave extra Cheetos to black kids just because I was like, fuck white people. Like, I learned about slavery today, and that's stupid. Like, I don't deserve to eat. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, clap for me. I'm just like, I was a confused little kid. I had no idea what to do with that information. I was like, whoa, my best friend is Giovanni. Like, what are we going to do here? So, yeah, I remember growing up without, at least being a little kid, no segregation. Got introduced to like a feud between people that were, of a descent from like, African type and people of a descent of a Mexican type that hated each other and fought like physically. And then I learned that they were shooting each other with guns. And then there were like bad things happening on campus after school, bad things happening on campus during school. Um, some I've seen, some I saw and fucking ran because I knew shit was hitting the fan. And it's not that I was like, I'm gonna be arrested too. It was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I'm not a part of any of it. I'm just trying to play fucking a game with my friends in the park. And then all of a sudden I hear gunshots. Like, something weird happened between elementary school and junior high school, and just introduced to a whole new world of shit, man, out there. So that's where I'm gonna end it right now. Mainly because I gotta pee. I feel like I've been here for about an hour, and this felt good. This felt real. And if you're interested to continue listening, I'm gonna keep talking about myself for a while. I'm gonna keep just talking about what I feel. I might go off track and talk about how I feel, and then talk about myself later. But I also don't expect a lot of people to listen to this. I'm gonna go and start a channel called Tommy's Thoughts, and it'll be my podcast is Tommy's Thoughts. But we're gonna start with Tommy's. I mean, I'm sure I had some thoughts in this, and but here's my evolution: is one day Tommy's Thoughts is actually gonna turn into a podcast that I have with other people, and just be a thing, and it'll grow. And I mean, I'm not looking for fame. I feel like that there's other people that feel this way. And we could just help platforms grow. We could just help thoughts exchange, and we can just be who we want to be in this fucking world that wants to try to piss us off as much as it can, pushes us down whatever chance we have. And I want to create a place where people can be themselves. Where everyday people can let themselves be known. Now, I want to. My dream podcast is to do things like where I sit down someone like a fucking truck driver, and I'm like, "What do you do?" And tell me some crazy shit you've seen. And there'll be like pre-interviews so I can pick and choose and make it podcast worthy, make you guys laugh, make you guys cry, make just like help me make that, you know? And then someday someone like you can be on a podcast where millions of people listen, and finally, people will understand what it's like to be a cashier at Walmart or at Target, an HR rep at a fucking clothing department store. Of course, there could be some legal issue on exactly how that works, but again, let's figure that out. I feel like that's something that a lot of people really want to talk about. Work. What it's like to be a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister. And that'll be multiple different times because there's different sisters, there's different brothers, there's different mothers, there's different fathers. What's it like to be a father that abandoned their children? You don't have to say your name, or you can say your name. What's it like to be a mother that spent every single day and did things like hurt themselves, almost died for their kids, almost died for their family, or a father that almost killed themselves just so that their family could live or survive? That's what I want to hear. Those are the stories that I know people want to hear, because those stories are full of laughter, love, pain, and eventually, hopefully, fulfillment. Because that's what people deserve. Because you don't know, or at least I don't know, how many lives I get. The life I have is worth, if it's not the only one I have, or if there's going to be more. And I've always wanted to be things like a teacher. I've always wanted to be things like a military agent. I've always wanted to be things like a fucking like I did some construction work in the past, but construction workers on the high beams over like thousands of feet, artists that make things that there isn't trillion people on the planet that people see, almost every person sees. What is it like? And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to figure out. What's it like to be a person on this planet? We're going to try to find it out from every type of person, from your regular exterminator to your lawyers to your fucking bank tellers to your Target personnel to your NBA celebrities, which hopefully maybe one day we'll have, to your rappers, to your actors, to your presidents. Let's make this a podcast where everyday people of any kind can be heard. And there might be a time where I have a controversial person on. I'm not going to do that at first. I am going to build a platform before I've ever have a controversial person on. I have a low tolerance, so I will say that I'm a trigger or two. I don't attack people when I'm triggered. I just like avoid things when I'm triggered. So we'll just say avoision. Avoision will be avoided. The aversion will be averted by other people, and help me get other people onto this, and help me do this every day. I'm gonna keep doing this for a while. If I have 50 episodes out and 0 views, then I'll quit. But if I have 50 episodes out and at least 10 views out of 50, I'll keep on making them. So keep on listening, and I'll keep on coming. Thank you. Stay safe.